Not my experience as such. I wasn't alive at this point, but feel like this probably belongs here. Basically, back in the 80s, my mom lived in a bedsit, which is basically shared accommodation for those who don't know, and had some guy knock on the door around 11 p.m. All the other young women she lived with had went out earlier in the evening to go drinking, but my mom had stayed back due to work the next day. My mom, being the wise person she is, thank God, otherwise I probably wouldn't be here today and typing this, didn't open the door to him but opted to shout out the window asking who it was. Some dude was stood there with a baseball cap on, briefcase in hand, and insisted he had a business meeting with the business below the bedsit. Throughout the conversation, he refused to look directly up at her and didn't want to leave. My mom thought this was strange, especially at 11 p.m. at night, so effectively told him to go away and contact whoever he was supposed to be meeting. She reported it to the police. Turns out it was the Bedsit Killer, and my mom could have potentially been his next victim that night. She got a call back in 2021 from detectives saying they'd remanded a man on suspicion of the rapes and killings of 2 women back in the 80s through DNA. Someone in his family, I believe, got put on file, and that's how they eventually made that crucial link. And they highly suspected he was the man on the doorstep that night from descriptions in her report and wanted to use this as evidence in court. My mom lived one road over from one of the victims, who coincidentally shared the same name as her and looked really similar. We got invited to the sentencing at court and managed to see him in the dock, and my mom thought it was definitely the man from that night. He got a whole life sentence for the murders and other crimes. Won't go into it, but when they arrested him for the murders and searched his property back in 2021, they unveiled evidence that he'd been abusing bodies in a mortuary in the hospital he worked at for years. Looking back, she thinks he was staking her house out and took his chance when all her flatmates went out. But she's glad she didn't open the door that night.
Like, comment, and subscribe.